Trouble could be brewing for Stellantis. Several local branches of the United Auto Workers Union say they are ready to file grievances.
The United Auto Workers Union president Shawn Fain just dropped a serious warning about the unsettling reality we're up against. A warning aimed directly at Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now, you might have heard about the layoffs, and now members are trying to fight back, but this is more than that. So what is the warning exactly? What is the union going to do next? And what the heck is happening? At the heart of this crisis is Stellantis' blatant disregard for the commitments they made in the 2023 contract. This isn't just a contractual issue, it's a full-blown betrayal of trust that's putting our livelihoods on the line. Remember all those promises about job security, facility investments, and production levels? Yep, these companies are already backing out of those, especially when it comes to the key plants that are the lifeblood of communities. The fallout from this is nothing short of devastating. Workers who thought their futures were locked in are now staring down the barrel of uncertainty as Stellantis announces layoffs and plant closures. The emotional toll on families is gut-wrenching. We're talking serious anxiety about financial stability and the well-being of loved ones. This is a stark reminder of the ongoing conflict between corporate greed and the rights of hardworking people. Their job security is hanging by a thread and the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about individual workers. The outcome of this struggle will set the tone for labor relations in the entire automotive industry, and union members are saying, let's show how much they mean business. The union wants to hold them accountable for their broken promises. This might be the end for these automakers because each of them have already been facing other challenges. Let me explain, and while I do that, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. How did we get here? Well, Stellantis, the fourth largest car company in the world and the parent company of 14 brands like Ram, Jeep, Chrysler, and even European giants like Maserati, Alfa Romeo, and Fiat, is facing some major challenges and its future is a bit uncertain right now. Let's start with the numbers. During the first half of 2024, Stellantis reported a jaw-dropping 16% drop in US sales. And when we break it down by brand, it gets even crazier. Jeep sales slipped by 9%, Ram experienced a hefty 26% decline, Chrysler fell by 8%, and Dodge saw a 16% decrease in sales volume. This spells serious trouble for the company as it struggles to keep up with fierce competition from established automakers and new players zooming in from China. But the troubles don't end there, folks. Stellantis is also dealing with a massive inventory surge, with a whopping 400,000 units in stock by July of this year, the largest inventory in the entire auto industry. And get this, some models like the Alfa Romeo Giulia are sitting on dealership lots for an average of 617 days. That's over a year and a half, people. Clearly there's a serious sales slump going on. Now let's talk about this inventory situation, because it's downright alarming. Stellantis has been overproducing vehicles and relying too heavily on aging models, leaving them drowning in an overwhelming inventory glut. The company had initially aimed to limit US inventory to 330,000 vehicles by early 2025, but they're now in panic mode, trying to hit that target by the end of this year. Can you imagine the frustration of dealerships dealing with this mountain of unsold stock? To tackle the issue of those older models, Stellantis is slashing prices and offering up some juicy discounts. But this rushed response only highlights the company's slow adaptation to market demands, leading to a backlog of vehicles that's straining relationships with dealers and putting its overall financial stability at risk. To put it in perspective, the average day's supply of new vehicles across various brands has skyrocketed to 76 days, with several Stellantis models exceeding that average. Yep, they're clearly out of sync with what consumers really want. As the CEO, Carlos Tavares, is finding out, leading one of the world's largest automakers is no easy feat. Dealers are sounding the alarm, claiming Tavares' strategies are misguided and focused on short-term profits over long-term brand success. According to a recent letter from the Stellantis National Dealer Council, Tavares' aggressive cost-cutting measures are wreaking havoc on the company's standout brands, like Jeep and Ram. Dealers are feeling the squeeze, with their profitability and customer trust taking a nosedive. It seems Tavares prioritizes quick financial gains over sustainable growth, leaving dealers to navigate the treacherous waters of a fiercely competitive market all on their own. Adding fuel to the already blazing fire, Stellantis' puzzling decision to hold back on matching its rivals' generous incentive program is proving to be yet another obstacle in their path. While competitors like Ford and GM are more than willing to offer discounts of up to 10% of average transaction prices, Stellantis is playing it safe, much to the growing frustration of its dealerships. Without these enticing incentives, Stellantis vehicles are becoming increasingly less appealing to potential buyers, leaving dealers struggling to clear their lots of older models. It's abundantly clear that Carlos Tavares and his team at Stellantis have their work cut out for them as they navigate these turbulent waters. They'll need to find a delicate balance between protecting short-term profits and investing in long-term brand building, all while staying ahead of the competition and adapting to the ever-evolving demands of today's consumers. The very future of Stellantis hangs in the balance, and the entire industry has its eyes fixed on the company, eagerly waiting to see if they can steer the ship to success. And you know what they decided to do after this? Well, it is actually a bit crazy to even think about, and we need to talk about it in detail. The new plan. Stellantis increased prices even on models that their sales figures continue to decline. This head-scratching choice has left industry analysts and consumers alike scratching their heads, as it seemingly goes against the basic principles of market behavior. Typically, a drop in demand would lead to lower prices, not higher ones, and their sales showed that. Look at Jeep holding their jaw-dropping 34% drop from their peak to a mere $643,000 in 2023, and the downward spiral hasn't brightened up, with sales continuing to slide in 2024. The first half of the year saw a 9% decrease compared to the same period last year, and the third quarter only made things worse, with a 20% year-over-year plunge in total US sales, and they increased the price, which is so surprising because consumers are increasingly concerned about affordability due to broader economic uncertainties. These price hikes by Stellantis only serve to further alienate potential buyers and deepen the inventory issues that their dealerships are facing. It's a precarious balancing act as they try to manage unsold stock while also meeting the rising consumer expectations for value. And now they are in an almost transitional phase. They are constantly changing directions, and you know what that means? Broken promises. This is a story of betrayal. The closure of the Belvidere assembly plant in Illinois has become a painful emblem of what Stellantis' workforce faces. Initially, the company sparked hope among its workers by assuring them that the plant would reopen one day. This promise ignited optimism in a community that had already weathered severe economic storms. However, the harsh reality of its permanent closing shattered those hopes, leaving numerous workers in utter devastation. Personal accounts from those affected showcase the profound impact this betrayal has had on lives. For instance, Rochelle Archie, a member of the United Auto Workers, opened up about her struggles. A lot of people had to pick up their family and move to Michigan. A lot of people were losing their jobs, so where do you go next? What do you do? This uncertainty reverberates through the community as families wrestle with the emotional and financial fallout of such drastic and unexpected changes. But it isn't just individual families that are feeling the sting. Local businesses are also suffering significant consequences due to the plant's closure. Restaurants, shops, and various service providers in Belvidere relied heavily on the incomes of workers who are now gone. As fewer workers remain in the area, these local establishments are experiencing a painful decline in revenues. The ripple effect of Stellantis' decision is felt deeply within the community. Once thriving neighborhoods now carry an air of uncertainty and despair, making it a struggle for everyone involved. And when these workers even move to Michigan, they hope to make back on their feet once again. But Stellantis has announced its plans to eliminate nearly 2,500 jobs at its Warren Truck Assembly plant by cutting the second shift. This move has left many feeling deeply betrayed, especially given that the company had previously vowed to uphold job security under their contract. United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain voiced this collective disappointment during a rally when he declared, "What affects one of us affects all of us." His words strike a chord with workers who feel that their livelihoods are being sacrificed on the altar of corporate profits. These layoffs aren't isolated incidents. Oh no, they align with a troubling trend of job cuts sweeping through multiple Stellantis plants. Earlier this year, approximately 200 full-time workers were laid off at the Sterling Heights Assembly, and additional cuts affected facilities in Toledo and beyond. Each layoff announcement chips away at worker morale and erodes their trust in the union's ability to safeguard their interests. As Michael Spencer, president of United Auto Workers Local 1700, pointedly stated, "We are talking about families and communities that are directly affected by a company that chooses to play monopoly with people's lives." The stark contrast between these layoffs and the promises detailed in contracts only intensifies a growing atmosphere of fear and resentment among the workforce. The impact on the union. Many workers describe their feelings of fatigue and anxiety, with the weight of recent experiences bearing down on them. Testimonials reveal a shared sense of exhaustion. One worker conveyed their sentiments clearly. "We don't want to strike." Obviously, no one wants to strike because that doesn't make any sense at all. People just want to work and live a stable life. But as the days go by, the looming possibility of another strike hangs over these workers like a dark cloud, creating a tense atmosphere. The fear of prolonged job loss looms heavily on families that are already grasping for ways to make ends meet. As they reflect on their past strikes and the outcomes that followed, many are left wondering, will confronting Stellantis once again yield meaningful results? Or will it only deepen the hardships they already face? To add even more complexity to the situation, there are internal divisions within the United Auto Workers locals itself that are compounding these already significant challenges. Tensions between international leadership and local leaders have bubbled up as members express their frustration over perceived disconnects about priorities and strategies. Traditional officials often find themselves at odds with reform-minded members who are calling for greater accountability from union leadership. This discord fosters widespread disillusionment among workers, many of whom feel as if their voices are being left unheard. United Auto Workers Vice President Mike Booth acknowledged these simmering tensions when he candidly stated, "It's not straight A's." This comment highlights the reality that while progress has been made since recent reforms were introduced, there are still substantial challenges that lie ahead. The presence of differing views within the union complicates efforts to present a united front against Stellantis' pressing actions. As members grapple with feelings of vulnerability resulting from job insecurity and broken promises, these internal conflicts pose a significant risk to the solidarity that's so crucial at this pivotal moment in labor negotiations. And the time is up. Ever heard of a strike authorization vote? It's a pretty big deal in labor unions, especially for the United Auto Workers. So what exactly does it do? Let's dissect this together. The main goal of the strike authorization vote is to empower the bargaining committee with the authority to call for a strike if negotiations with the employer reach a standstill. It's important to note that this vote doesn't automatically trigger a strike. Rather, it acts as a crucial gauge of worker sentiment about the potential for industrial action. To pass, the vote needs a solid 2/3 majority from those participating, showing strong backing among members for taking bold steps if necessary. This entire process is all about giving workers a voice, making sure that any decision to strike truly reflects their collective feelings and readiness to stand up to management. Within the realm of the United Auto Workers, opinions about whether to strike aren't exactly black and white. Some members are passionately in favor of taking action, fueled by frustrations over Stellantis' failure to meet its contractual obligations and promises that were made during negotiations. These workers often bring up critical issues like the need for higher wages, improved job security, and investment in American manufacturing as valid reasons to strike. On the flip side, there's a considerable group of union members who feel hesitant about moving towards a strike. Many are still recovering from the exhaustion of previous labor actions, coupled with concerns about the economic fallout of a work stoppage. This range of opinions doesn't just mirror individual situations, it also speaks to larger worries about how effective strikes can be in achieving favorable outcomes, especially in a labor market that's getting more unpredictable by the day. Now, navigating this complicated landscape means United Auto Workers leadership must focus on engaging deeply with its membership. Think about it. Town hall meetings and open forums can be excellent platforms for discussing what a strike authorization vote could mean and for clearing up any member concerns. These gatherings should prioritize transparent communication, openly discussing the reasons for contemplating a strike and the potential outcomes of doing nothing. By creating an environment where dialogue flows freely, leaders can foster a sense of unity among members, ensuring that everyone feels clued in and included in the decision-making process. Mobilization efforts have to emphasize that mass participation in potential future strikes is crucial. History clearly shows that strikes tend to be most effective when they're backed by a powerful, unified front. Recently, United Auto Workers locals have conducted strike authorization votes, empowering their leadership to call for strikes if necessary. But as tensions heat up, Stellantis has escalated its game, launching legal battles against the union's right to strike. United Auto Workers locals versus corporate. The company has initiated lawsuits challenging recent strike authorization votes conducted by various United Auto Workers locals, claiming there were procedural violations regarding grievance processes that are spelled out in their collective bargaining agreement. Stellantis argues that these votes were held too early or without following the proper protocols, thus undermining their legitimacy. These legal tactics don't just aim to intimidate union members, they also complicate labor relations even further. The fallout from these actions can be significant, creating an atmosphere of fear among employees while simultaneously casting doubt on their rights as enshrined in current labor laws. This ongoing conflict underscores a pressing need for solidarity among union members as they confront both corporate interests and the legal challenges that threaten their fight for fair treatment and respect in the workplace. In light of all this, it's clear that the dynamics at play with the strike authorization vote are far more than just a procedural matter. They are a crucial part of the ongoing struggle for labor rights and dignity in an evolving industrial landscape. The stakes are high, and every voice counts as workers navigate this challenging terrain together. But the thing is, people are just frustrated, they want to be stable, and this is not just a Stellantis problem. It is a trend in the industry and even the nation's economy, but that doesn't seem to fix, and it is because of something that's been frustrating folks for quite some time: the political scene surrounding labor issues. It often feels like a stage where empty promises take center stage. Both major political parties have repeatedly failed to genuinely support workers, and this has become especially clear in the aftermath of the 2023 strike. We've seen politicians like President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris showing up at events with striking workers, delivering speeches filled with solidarity. However, their actions frequently seem to tell a very different story. Take Biden, for instance. He publicly expressed his support for auto workers, but at the same time signed legislation that limited the rights of railroad workers to strike. This kind of behavior highlights a troubling inconsistency in his commitment to labor rights, leading workers to feel a sense of betrayal. Many have long counted on political leaders to truly advocate for their interests, but when the crunch comes, these promises often fall flat. The situation gets even more complicated when we consider Union President Shawn Fain's strategy of relying on political figures for support. He has encouraged workers to place their trust in politicians who, historically, have often aligned themselves with corporate interests. Harris, for example, has faced criticism for her support of anti-strike legislation in the past. This reliance on figures prioritizing corporate profits over the welfare of workers reflects a troubling trend where labor issues are sidelined. As Jerry White from the Socialist Equality Party points out, the capitalist system thrives by exploiting the working class while inflating the fortunes of corporate owners. This stark reality really highlights how crucial it is for workers to scrutinize the motives behind political promises and to seek out more reliable avenues for real advocacy. See, this situation is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. These are lives, and you can't just do whatever you feel like with their source of income. Sooner or later, the political landscape will feel what the workers are going to respond with. And the crazy thing is, the workers' union is not the only one that is sounding the alarms. Stellantis versus Dealers Council. The Stellantis U.S. National Dealer Council has recently delivered a powerful message directed right at CEO Carlos Tavares, signaling an increasing wave of frustration regarding his management decisions. These choices have had a noticeably negative impact on some of the company's most cherished brands. Think Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. In a letter sent on September 10th, 2024, the council did not hold back. They criticized Tavares for what they have termed reckless short-term decision-making. This approach, they argue, has led to some serious declines in sales and market share for these iconic brands, which are dear to many. What's more, the letter didn't shy away from stressing that the detrimental outcomes of Tavares' decisions were not just predictable, but had been pointed out time and again by the council over the past couple of years. A clear warning that seems to have gone unheeded. Chairman Kevin Farish is laying it all on the line when it comes to the concerns swirling around Stellantis. He boldly declared that the company's relentless pursuit of record-breaking profits in 2023 has resulted in what he calls a rapid degradation of Stellantis' American brands. And he's not mincing words here. Sure, CEO Carlos Tavares has managed to guide the company toward profitability, but the council believes this financial upswing has come with a hefty price tag. That price, the long-term viability and competitive stature of cherished brands like Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. The gravity of this whole situation is undeniable, and the letter from the council highlights some truly staggering statistics that reveal just how serious things have become. The council didn't hold back in their warning, stating clearly that these short-term financial gains might lead to disastrous consequences. Not only could this impact the company's profits, but it could also shake things up for everyone who relies on Stellantis for their livelihoods. Another major issue weighing on everyone's minds is the current inventory situation. The dealers pointed out a troubling reality: many models are just sitting unsold on dealership lots for what feels like an eternity. But this time, Stellantis listened, and to tackle this surplus, Stellantis has tried to roll out a few strategies like price cuts and various incentive programs. However, let's be honest, these measures have struggled to address the root of the problem. According to the council's findings, the average day's supply of vehicles has skyrocketed to one of the highest levels seen across the industry, and some are even thinking that it is more than the estimated. This is a clear indication of a significant mismatch between what Stellantis is producing and what consumers actually want or need. Additional criticisms from the council focused on Tavares' strategy regarding dealer compensation and the allocation of marketing funds. The adjustments in dealer compensation, where payments are tied to vehicle shipments rather than actual sales, have added further strain to dealer profitability. When this is combined with cuts to marketing support, it leaves many dealers feeling deserted in an increasingly competitive landscape. Business has become tough, and this lack of support is only intensifying their struggles. Given these escalating frustrations, the dealer council is now insisting that Tavares takes a more hands-on approach with Stellantis executives in the US. They are calling for him to attend their meeting set for October 15, 2024. This push for greater collaboration highlights just how urgent it is to address these critical issues before they spiral out of control and become unmanageable. Though Stellantis has publicly disagreed with the council's assessment, claiming that they've seen improvements in both sales and inventory management, the tension between the dealers and corporate leadership is still thick in the air. The letter from the dealer council stands as a stark reminder of the serious challenges Stellantis faces as they navigate a tumultuous automotive landscape filled with declining sales and fierce competition. As dealers continue to voice concerns about Tavares' leadership and its potential impact on their businesses, the future path of Stellantis feels uncertain and fraught with risks. This leads us to ponder: how will leadership react to this rising tide of pressure, and will they adapt fast enough to turn things around before it's too late? Well, in the middle of all these mounting pressures, Stellantis seems to be exploring direct-to-consumer strategies as a way to reshape its market approach and potentially cut out traditional dealership networks altogether. This shift toward a direct sales model could serve as a double-edged sword. On one hand, it might allow Stellantis to engage more directly with customers and streamline the sales process, which sounds great in theory, but on the other hand, it raises eyebrows among dealers who feel their roles could be diminished or even eliminated in this new framework. And as dealers are left wondering where they fit in this evolving strategy, it creates an atmosphere of uncertainty, making it essential for Stellantis' leadership to tread carefully. If the company can strike the right balance, they might just find a way to innovate while still fostering strong partnerships with their dealers. However, if missteps occur, Stellantis could face a backlash from its dealer network, further complicating an already turbulent situation. So the real question remains: can Stellantis manage this shift effectively and maintain valuable dealer relationships, all while navigating the ever-changing automotive landscape? What's your thoughts on this? Let's know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.